for each other, and that translates through too.
Like, a part of me always used to wonder, had Marion Lawrence was around for a little longer than what she was, to the point, I mean, it's always like what ifs. Like, I wonder how Dick Sargent would have been with her, you know, or
that would have been wild. That would have been wild.
Or if the original Gladys Kravitz was around still into the color years. And it's so funny how she wanted Alice Ghostley to play her part when she passed away, and she said no. She didn't want to do that. I thought that was pretty cool, too.
Mm-hmm.
And then they brought her back on as Esmeralda anyway in season 6. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. Yeah. The only thing I didn't understand, and this was something I mentioned a few times in the book, is that they never really explained what happened to Aunt Clara. I mean, I know, with a sitcom, you can't really get into people dying and stuff. I mean, now you can, depending on the show. But I mean, a show like that, you don't want to go so far into the real world.
You wouldn't want to tread on that line.
No, but I mean, still, the fact that they never even mentioned her again after that has, only when you watch a show in order, it kind of bugs me, because I get that they don't want to get into the whole death thing, but they could say, well, Aunt Clara went, she's living in London now, or, she turned herself into something finally, or just like one little line to acknowledge it. But I mean, I understand why they chose not to, but at the same time, just for sheer continuity's sake, it's like, well, I mean, this woman put in 4 seasons worth of work. She's one of the show's most iconic characters. It's kind of too bad that they didn't find a way that they could kind of explain her absence without getting into the whole thing. I mean, it's not like with 8 Simple Rules, I mean, that was there really was no way around that one.
Right.
But it was also a different, it was also, 40 years later. So we're in a place now where something like that happens. You probably could write it into the show, but yeah, I mean, write it into the show in a more direct way, but at least Bewitched had the buffer of the witchcraft that they could have gotten around certain things. But, again, it was a decision that they made, and it stands for all time. So, it is what it is, but it's just something that always kind of stuck out for me anyways.
The only thing that, I never really thought that. The one thing that stuck out for me was that when she did pass away, they didn't recast her because they loved her so much. No one.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, I can't imagine who could have picked up that torch. I mean, the amazing thing, and this just sort of occurred to me the other day, and I don't know why it took so long, but I mean, Marion Lawrence was in her 80s the entire time she was doing the show. Her 80s. I mean, can you imagine being in your 80s and, running around doing this stuff? I mean, it's really amazing.
She had a blast, though, doing it, and I had a blast watching her.
Yeah, that's why we have a blast watching her, because you can tell she's just enjoying herself so much.
It was just hilarious. I heard an audio interview with Liz Montgomery talking about Marion Lawrence, and she absolutely adored that woman, and it was just so nice to hear her say these things about Marion Lawrence. I mean, it was phenomenal how much this show loved her and loved each other, and you could tell that they did. If they didn't, they probably wouldn't be working together. But
but even so, I mean, I think that even the greatest actor can only act so much. I mean, the fact that if they weren't unified, we would pick up on it. It might not be conscious, but we would know.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that they all did love and respect each other, and that translated through, and I think that's also part of why we are still talking about it, is because it was just one of those unconscious things that we pick up on, this sense of well-being, this sense of almost security, if you will, from watching this family, every week. So I mean, there's just there's so many reasons. I mean, to love the show. It's hard to just list all of them. But of course, the saying that makes me sound even more obsessed than I already am. If that's possible.
I mean, it's the biggest cliche ever, but it's true. I mean, we could probably be on this phone for 24 hours talking about this show. And easily.
Especially because you know as much about it as I do, which is, I mean, that sounds a little conceited, but what I mean is that you know about it on the level of detail that I can't get into with too many people. So like you can mention a line of dialogue and I know what comes after. I can mention a title and you know exactly what I'm talking about.
That's so true because, as it's been evidenced, we've been doing that, and it's just second nature to us. And when it happens, you just go right with it, and that's just it. So
yeah, exactly. And I can't do that in everyday life. I'll do a line and somebody be like, "What?"
They look
That's
at
from
you
Bewitched.
crazy.
What? Yeah. I get a lot of that.
You get a lot of that? No.
I think I get a lot of that just regardless, but that certainly doesn't help.
More so, people, when I say it, they just go like, "Is that a line from that show you watch?" And I'm like, "Yeah, which show is it?"
Oh, I don't think I have too many of those people in my life. I think it just sort of worked out that way.
Yeah,
right. From that show you watch.
That show you watch. Yeah. I get those, but I haven't gotten it as I got older, but they now just go like, "You still watch Bewitched now?" Like that's what I get. Like, "You still watch Bewitched?" I said, "Yeah, I still watch it."
I think growing up anyway, I was a really, really good kid until you try to take me away from the TV at 5 o'clock. I do seem to remember pitching a fit about that.
Oh, goodness.
But so I think when I wrote this book, I think my parents must not have been too surprised. Maybe they were maybe they were surprised that I didn't do it sooner.
Probably.
It's a little funny that I wonder why I didn't do it sooner, but I guess I thought maybe the level of detail that I was paying attention to, I maybe thought other people wouldn't be as interested in. And then as the 50th anniversary was getting closer, I just thought, what the hell? Let's give this a shot because, sure you could do it at any time, but I just thought on the 50th anniversary would just be such a cool springboard. And I was lucky enough to go to Bewitched Fanfare in L.A.
I was invited to that, but I didn't get to go. Well,
oh, dude, we could have met 2 years ago.
We could have met 2 years ago, but it was called this thing called money that kind of got away. Yeah.
All this mortal money I've spent here. But
Samantha the Dressmaker, Season 2.
Yes, thank you. But, see, this is why we have to stay in touch about this stuff.
Yes.
But, I was lucky enough to be able to announce the book on the 50th anniversary, which is really cool, and I was also really nervous. But if I remember, I had prepared. I didn't want to be one of those people that was going to be up there rambling for 20 minutes. So I prepared a quickie little speech, and kind of harkening back to the soap thing. I gave myself a day to memorize it. Of course, I got up there and I kind of went up on one of my own lines, and I was like, oh my god, I didn't just say that. But what are you going to do? I had to keep going. But that was when I found out. Yeah, you just have to. The camera's rolling. It literally was too, because my PR person was filming me, so I could put this on Facebook. And I'm like, okay, just keep going. Just pretend you meant to say that. But that was when I found out how much other people love Bewitched as much as I do. Because before that, pretty much my whole life, it was, this is something that I like, that I'm really passionate about, that I recorded on cassettes when I was a kid, and then off of WGN in the 90s, and it's just something that I like. But then finding out that other people love it as much, at first it was a little intimidating because you don't want other people to know as much about it as you do. You want to be the expert. But then when you realize that there's that much love for it, it's all that intimidation stuff just kind of melts away, and there's a lot of us out there. Mm-hmm. And I've been really happy that I've gotten a lot of compliments on the book. That I pay attention to this level of detail, because that's the kind of level of detail that they like. And, so that was very validating. And it's just nice to know that a show that's been off the air for 44 years, is something that we're still sitting around talking about. And probably, after they come up with whatever comes after Blu-ray, it'll probably be holograms. Somebody will be
they are
watching
experimenting with that already, but
Right. They'll be watching Bewitched on holograms and sitting around talking about Noel Coward time and all that. And, I don't think that Bewitched is one of those shows that's ever going to die off in that way. I think the years and decades are passing, but I think it's always going to be in the consciousness somewhere. And
it should
part of the reason
Blu-ray, just for the mere fact that they need to come up with an excuse to get the original openings and closing credits on DVD.
I agree.
Because,
that would be cool.
Seriously, a lot of us want it. I'm one of those people. Granted, I have some in my possession, but it would be different if I could get it in different type of quality. But, obviously, but it's just one of those things where I would love to see the cast commercials on a DVD and getting the original sponsor openings along with it. As I said in the beginning of this talk, I'm into that kind of stuff when it comes to opening themes. And mind you, that door never opened with those opening themes until much later in life, because I never knew that the black and white opening looked a lot different than the syndication black and white opening. Where they just,
if it wasn't for YouTube, we wouldn't know about these things. Yeah.
Exactly. I never knew that it was just the syndication opening for the black and white was a grayscaled color version of the opening. And then when Nick at Night brought it back in 95, it was the original black and white cartoon drawing opening of it. So I thought it was interesting to see that different detail of it. So I was like, okay, so that's different. So what else is different? And that's when the different themes came into play that matched with each season at the time. Season 2 had a different theme that matched the closing credits of the theme that I didn't know that was in existence. And then Season 3 came into effect with their theme that matched the Season 3 theme that pretty much was used in syndication forever.
I would buy that on Blu-ray. And I don't even like Blu-ray. One of the few people that is not enamored with Blu-ray. It's like, for me, it's like, well, yeah, the crystal clear quality is great, but for me, it's still all about the story. So it doesn't matter whether it's on, snowy 13-inch black and white TV or if it's in stunning Blu-ray. But Bewitched on Blu-ray with those openings and closings, and I would buy that. I would totally buy that.
I'd be probably that guy that would push people out of the line just to buy it. If there were a line for it in my store. But you and I would
be like, pulling a Lauren and Sheila on each other trying to get to this thing.
That's only if we were in the same room. But
yeah, I know.
Yeah, that would only be in the same room. But if it wasn't, then it would just be like, it's probably just us buying it and then go on along our merry way and make the purchase and everything. But that has to happen in life. It has to be in existence somewhere. And if it's not, then that's pretty sad, because
I'm sure it's got to be.
Most shows on Blu-ray right now, especially the Lucy DVDs, have it where you can watch it in its original airing period. Like, it's the original opening, the commercial goes into the show, and the original commercials and credits.
Oh, wow, they're including the original commercials. That's really cool.
Like, right in the episode. So it's just like, that's the option you have on the Blu-ray.
Isn't that hilarious? We spent all these decades avoiding commercials, like going to the bathroom or then fast-forwarding through it on VCR, and now we actually want the commercials.
We want to see them. Like, we want to see them now, because it's just, it's something not from our time that we would be totally immersed
it's fascinating now. It's like, oh my God, look at this commercial for Noxema. Oh my God.
It's nostalgia that we want. And, I think a lot of people, when the re-release of the complete series came out, and it had on the box all the original airings, or however they worded it, originally as they aired, that's what it was. And a lot of us, myself included, went, does that mean that it's the original openings? And I even said that on Twitter, and they responded like, no, it's not. I was like, well, yeah, that's very misleading. So they had to go back. They literally went back on the website and was like, a lot of people were questioning if this was this, and it's not this. So they had to put it in the fine print, and I was just like...
They probably weren't even thinking of it on that level. They're just figuring because it's a complete episode that, this is aired. But...
Yeah, complete episode, black and white, primarily was what they were thinking, because that's what they meant, was that it was
Yeah, but they weren't thinking on it on the level that we would have been thinking of it. Yeah.
Yeah, we like